December 5, 1975. A young woman named Lindy was murdered in her apartment in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. She just came from the bank. She just deposited her husband's paycheck. She has no idea this is the last hour of her life. Somewhere between 6:45 and 9 that night, a man is already inside her home. He is not a stranger passing through. He knows her schedule. He knows she is alone. By the time her aunt and uncle knock on the door, it is already over. What they find inside will haunt this town for 47 years. This is the story of how one coffee cup, thrown away at an airport, ended almost half a century of silence. For 47 years, this case had one piece of evidence, one sample, collected the night of the murder, back in 1975, before DNA testing even existed. Investigators didn't know what to do with it. So they did the only thing they could. They saved it. They waited. Decades passed. Detectives retired. New detectives took over the file. Every one of them hit the same dead end. Then, in 2020, a family tree expert tried something new, something no one had ever tried before. Instead of tracing the killer's cousins, she traced his family back 400 years, to a small mountain village in southern Italy. That one decision cracked open the oldest cold case in the county's history, and it led straight to a man living quietly, just miles away, for nearly 50 years. If you are new here, kindly tell us in the comment section where you are watching from. And if cases like this interest you, kindly subscribe, because we cover new cases every single week, cases that were left unsolved for decades before they became solved. To understand this case, you have to understand 1975. America was tired. The Vietnam War had just ended in chaos. People were losing trust in each other. But in small towns like this one, doors were still left unlocked. Neighbors still trusted neighbors. Lindy Sue Beichler was 19 years old. Long hair, a gentle smile, everyone said. She worked at a local flower shop. She was newly married to a young man named Phil. They lived in a small apartment building on Klaus Drive. It wasn't glamorous. It was just two young people building a life together. On the afternoon of December 5th, Lindy ran her errands. She stopped at the bank. She deposited the week's paycheck. She bought groceries for dinner. She came home and set the bags on the table. She never got to unpack them. Sometime between 6:45 and 9 p.m., a man was already inside. He didn't break a window. He didn't force a lock. He was simply there, waiting. What happened next would take investigators nearly half a century to answer. That evening, Lindy's aunt and uncle stopped by. Nothing unusual. Just a quick visit to trade recipes. They knocked. No answer. They tried the door. What they found inside, they would never fully describe out loud again. Lindy was on the living room floor. She had fought back. Investigators later confirmed this from wounds on her hands and arms. She did not surrender, but her attacker had come prepared. He had two knives. One he brought with him. One he took from her own kitchen. She was stabbed 19 times. One chilling detail stood out to investigators right away. A dish towel was wrapped around one of the knife handles. This wasn't panic. This was calculation. Someone had paused in the middle of the crime to think about fingerprints. That detail told detectives something important. This wasn't a moment of blind rage. This was a man who stayed calm during extreme violence. Police also found a man's footprint in the kitchen. It would lead nowhere for 47 years. The exam confirmed what the scene already suggested. She had lost a severe amount of blood. There were also signs she had been sexually assaulted. And one more detail stood out. The attack happened in a very narrow window of time, between when Lindy got home and when Phil was expected back. That wasn't a coincidence. That meant the killer knew her routine. He knew exactly when she would be alone. In the weeks that followed, police did everything they could in 1975. They formed a task force. They brought in outside experts. They went door to door through the apartment complex. They questioned Lindy's co-workers at the flower shop. They questioned every regular customer. Vambutz, Phil, her husband, was questioned too. That's standard in any case like this. He was cleared quickly. There was nothing there. By the end, Detectives had interviewed roughly 300 people, 300 names, 300 alibis, 0 suspects. No one in Lindy's world seemed to fit. No angry ex, no known enemy, no clear motive. The killer left almost nothing behind. No clear fingerprints, no witnesses, no slip of the tongue in 300 interviews. Except for one thing, a single biological sample recovered from the scene. In 1975, there was no way to search it against anything. No matching system existed yet. So investigators did the only thing they could. They packaged it. They labeled it. They filed it away. They didn't know it yet, but they had just saved the only thing that would ever solve this case. They just had to wait 47 years to use it. The 1980s came and went. The 1990s arrived, and with them, the first real hope in years. DNA testing was finally being used in American courtrooms. For the first time, that old sample finally had a purpose. Investigators ran it through a national database, a system that stores DNA from people who've been arrested before. They waited for a match. Nothing came back. The killer had no criminal record. No arrest, no conviction, no reason for his DNA to be in any system, anywhere. As far as any database was concerned, he was a ghost. By 2019, the county had formed a dedicated team for cold cases. They tried something new. A lab used the DNA itself to build a predicted image of the killer's face. Not a sketch from memory. A face built from his own genetic code, aged back to what he likely looked like at 25. That was his age back in 1975. In September 2019, those images went public. Local news picked up the story. The community was asked, one more time, to look closely. And once again, nothing. No solid tip, no name that led anywhere. The case went cold again. But 3 states away, something had just happened. Something that would change everything. In April 2018, the country watched a stunning arrest in California. A man known for decades only as a mystery killer was finally caught. He had killed at least a dozen people. He had evaded capture for over 40 years. What finally caught him wasn't a fingerprint. It wasn't a witness. It was a brand new method, a way of using family trees to catch killers. Instead of searching for the killer's own DNA, investigators searched for his distant relatives online. Cousins. Second cousins. People who had never committed a crime in their lives, but who happened to share ancestry with a killer. Then, using those family links, they built a tree. They narrowed it down, branch by branch, until only one person fit. Detectives in Lancaster County watched this case closely. If it worked for a killer who evaded capture for 40 years, could it work for theirs? In 2020, they reached out to a woman named Cece Moore. She was one of the best family tree experts in the country. She had helped solve hundreds of cold cases nationwide. They sent her the file. She looked at it and knew something was different right away. This wasn't going to be like her other cases. This was going to be the hardest case of her career. In most cases like this, investigators find matches close to home. Second cousins, third cousins, people who share a great-grandparent. That's usually enough to build a tree fairly quickly. But in this case, nothing was close. The closest matches Moore could find weren't cousins at all. They shared a common ancestor with the killer, 300 or 400 years ago. 300 years. That's not a family tree. That's a history book. Normal methods simply didn't work here. There was no shortcut available. Moore had to build a brand new strategy from scratch. She later called it the hardest work of her entire career. Month after month, she traced every match as far back as she could. Slowly, a pattern started to appear. No matter which direction she followed, every single line led back to the same place. A small village in the mountains of southern Italy. That was her anchor point. Now she had to work forward again. Through centuries of migration and movement, she needed to find one family. The one that eventually landed in Lancaster County. She cross-checked local family records with roots in that same village. It was a small, specific group of people. She narrowed it further by age. She narrowed it further by gender. She narrowed it further by location. Name after name was crossed off the list, until only a handful of names remained. And one of those names was David Sinopoli. David Sinopoli, 68 years old, living quietly, not far from where Lindy was killed. No criminal record, no police file, not a single red flag in 47 years. Then investigators found the detail that changed everything. Back in 1975, David Sinopoli lived in that exact building. The same building as Lindy and Phil. Not across town, not in a nearby complex. The very same building. He may have been a face Lindy recognized in passing, someone she nodded to in the hallway, someone she had no reason to fear. For 47 years, his name never once surfaced. Not in the 300 interviews, not in a single tip, not once. Investigators knew they couldn't just walk up and ask for his DNA. If they approached him directly, he might refuse. He could disappear, get a lawyer, or simply wait them out. They didn't yet have enough for a court order, so they did the only thing they could. They watched. Quietly, patiently, they tracked his daily routine. They waited for the one moment he might leave something behind, something he'd throw away without a second thought. February 11th, 2022. David Sinopoli went to Philadelphia International Airport. He ordered a coffee. He drank it. And when he was done, he did what most people do without thinking. He threw the cup away. Investigators were there, waiting for exactly that moment. They pulled the cup from the trash. They sent it to the lab. The DNA on that cup matched the DNA from the crime scene. The odds of a coincidence were roughly 1 in 10 trillion. There was no room left for doubt. One cup of coffee, tossed without a second thought, had just undone 47 years of silence. On July 17, 2022, investigators arrived at Sinopoli's home. They arrested him. 46 years, 7 months, and 12 days after the murder. The next day, the county's top prosecutor spoke to the press. She confirmed it. The oldest unsolved case in the county's history was finally solved. What shook the community most wasn't who he was. It was where he had been all along. Not hiding, not running, just living. Right there. For nearly half a century. In plain sight. In October 2023, David Sinopoli pleaded guilty to murder, to assault, to burglary. There was no trial, no jury, no fight. Prosecutors placed a photo of Lindy right beside him in court. They wanted him to sit next to her face. One prosecutor told him plainly, Lindy would never be forgotten. He showed almost no reaction. The judge later said something telling. Sinopoli only pleaded guilty because he had been caught, not because he felt sorry. Phil, Lindy's husband, stood up to speak. He had waited 47 years for this moment. He told Sinopoli exactly what had been taken from him, and what could never be given back. When the judge gave Sinopoli a chance to speak, he said only one short sentence. A brief apology, offered to everyone, including his own wife. No explanation. No answer to the one question everyone wanted. Why? He was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. That was the maximum allowed under the law from 1975. At 69 years old, this was effectively a life sentence. He will die behind bars. Lindy Sue Beichler's case didn't create a famous new law. It didn't spark a national campaign. But among experts who solve cold cases using family trees, her case became something else entirely. The hardest case ever cracked this way. The one that forced experts to invent a brand new method, tracing a family back 4 centuries across an entire ocean, just to find one man. That method didn't disappear once this case closed. It's now helping solve other cases everyone had given up on. There's a simple lesson underneath all of this. Lock your doors, even somewhere that feels completely safe. Tell someone your schedule. Be clear and be specific. Trust the discomfort you feel around someone, even if you can't explain exactly why. And remember this, evidence doesn't expire. DNA doesn't forget. Even after 47 years, even after every lead runs cold, the truth can still find its way out. If this case moved you, there's a reason it's remembered as one of the hardest ever solved. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next one.